Okay, hello everyone. So we're starting the session now with York University on how to become a lawyer. Please, with Sam Thorpe. We will be having the question Q&A session after we finish from the presentation. So please place your questions at the Q&A tab to be able to answer them afterwards. Yeah. Thank you all. You can go ahead, Sam.
Oh, excellent. It's already sharing my screen, is it? Can you see the presentation now?
Yes. Now, yes.
Perfect. Okay. Well, yeah, thank you, everybody. Those of you for coming, and hello again if you saw me yesterday. So today I'm going to be doing a short presentation, which is a quick guide on becoming a lawyer, with the LLB being the first step to that. So I'm not from the law industry. I've never worked in the law industry, but I have worked closely with the law department because, as you may know, it's a very popular subject, specifically at the University of York, because of the way that we teach it. It's very unique. And I'll go into that a little bit more as we progress through the presentation. And at the end, we'll take questions from you. I hope I can answer all of those questions, but if I can't, don't worry, I'll give you the department's contact details. They're the real specialists in this field. Okay. So we will begin with how to become a lawyer in the UK. And we're going to start with just briefly explaining why law is so popular in the UK. Well, first of all, the LLB is an internationally recognized qualification, as are the LLMs for many countries, not all, but many. But yes, the LLB specifically is internationally recognized, and that is a qualifying law degree. So it's great for people looking for careers around the world. Now, a third of the world's population operates within something that we call common law, or at least mixed with civil law. And common law actually emerged from England, which is why, well, another reason why law is popular here in the UK. So there's also hundreds of law firms across the UK offering you really good career progression once you've graduated from your degree, especially now that you've got the 2-year graduate visa to use. And also it's shorter study periods. So to study law in the UK, it takes 3 years to get your LLB done, whereas it might take 4 in the US or Canada. And that's particularly important when it comes to law because there are other hurdles to go through. So doing the LLB is the first step in that journey, but there's plenty more to follow after that. So by shortening your study period, you're becoming a lawyer quicker. And that's true for the master's degree as well. It's 2 years in other countries and 1 year here in the UK. So there's a few reasons why the UK is popular for law. But what is a lawyer? Well, the term lawyer is a very general term, and it's used to describe somebody who's qualified to give legal advice as a licensed practitioner. And a licensed practitioner is either a solicitor or a barrister, and they perform different roles. But generally, when I'm talking to students at fairs, we just use the term lawyer. Okay. The following are examples of other careers which are for unlicensed legal professionals. And they include being a paralegal within a law firm, a legal advisor, which you could be within any company who needs one, a legal secretary, and a legal assistant. So some of these are really well-paid jobs as well. You know, being a legal advisor for a big international company that's trading internationally, keeping them out of trouble, that could save them a lot of money in terms of fines and things like that, court cases. And so, you know, you don't have to become a licensed practitioner to have a good career in law and earn a good salary. And in fact, the vast majority of people that study law do not become solicitors or barristers. And that's not because they're unsuccessful, it's just because they've taken these other career paths instead. Okay. So let's have a closer look at these two roles for the licensed practitioners. The solicitor, generally, when people say they're going to see their lawyer, they mean a solicitor. So if I was having a dispute, for example, with a neighbor because they put a fence up and I feel it's gone too far over to my side, it's crossed my land, then I would go and see my solicitor. And I would say, I'm going to see my lawyer. That's what I mean by that. And there's other types of solicitors as well who specialize in things like family law. So, you know, if in the unfortunate circumstance that a married couple breaks up and they've got kids and then they're fighting for custody, they would go and see their solicitors who specialize in family law. So Solicitors can work for a variety of organisations and often specialise in particular areas of law, like I just mentioned, but they would generally be employed unless they set up their own practice. Solicitors advise their clients and prepare legal documents and negotiations on behalf of their clients. So that's preparing for a cause to be taken to court if it does get taken into court, but a lot of the time it might settle out of court. So a solicitor doesn't necessarily go to court. Solicitors can undertake advocacy in less serious court cases. So advocacy is basically pleading your defendant's case. So that would be, at the beginning or at the end of the court proceedings, but a solicitor would not do advocacy in the High Court. It would be for far less serious cases, maybe a traffic fine or something like that. And a barrister, you'll recognize a barrister because they wear the gown and the wig, and they work at higher levels of court than solicitors, so far more serious crimes. They mainly act as advocates in legal hearings. They can plead a case to persuade the court on behalf of their client. So maybe, they know that their client is going to get sentenced, but they want to reduce that sentence. They're pleading in a way for sympathy and understanding from the court, that type of thing. They've got specialized knowledge on law and can be called upon for legal advice. And most barristers are actually self-employed. And they can also be employed as well by advisors or banks, corporations, or solicitors' firms. So that's a few differences between the two. But they both start with the same thing, the same platform, and that is the LLB, the qualifying law degree. And if you want to start your journey to becoming a licensed practitioner, you have to start with a qualifying law degree. Okay, so whichever university you choose to do the LLB with, check that it's qualifying. You're also going to have to apply for work placements, and those placements will vary depending on whether you're going to be a solicitor or a barrister, but you'll have to do them. And you'll need to graduate with a 2-1. Okay, so it's 3 years to completion, and anything below a 2-1 will be a barrier to becoming a lawyer. The vast majority of lawyers do get higher, well, a 2-1 or higher. I think only about 10% of them out there manage to make it as a licensed practitioner with anything below a 2-1. So it's really important to knuckle down, as we say in the UK, and study hard if you're going to become a lawyer. But now I'm going to look at the differences between the two journeys. So we can see that they both start off with the same thing, the LLB, but they will differ depending on which you want to become. So now we're going to look at the journey to becoming a solicitor. And in total in the UK, this would take a minimum of 6 years to complete. And again, I just want to reference there why the 3-year bachelor's degree is so preferable over the 4-year one. It's because there's all this on top. Okay. So we've mentioned that the first 3 years to becoming a solicitor will involve doing the LLB, graduating with some work experience. That experience will be placements, and you can get those placements during the holidays at university, either Easter or summer. Hopefully the academic department will have links with good companies. They do at York. We can't guarantee you a placement or get one from you, but you seek them through the academic department. And we also have a legal advice centre that you can do work placements for. So that's really important. And of course, I've mentioned that they need to graduate with at least a 2-1, which for most Middle Eastern countries would be the equivalent of a GPA 3.0 out of 4. The next thing that you'd need to do is the LLM in legal practice, and this replaced the former LPC. So you may be familiar with the term LPC. You won't hear that anymore. Okay. This LLM in legal practice is not a qualifying law degree like the LLB is. Technically, you don't have to do the LLM if you don't want to, but it's there to prepare you for 2 assessments that you need to complete. That's the SQE 1 and 2. Okay, it's going to give you all of the knowledge that you need to successfully complete these 2 assessments that are essential to becoming a solicitor. Okay, so you'll complete SQE 1. I'll talk about that shortly. But first of all, as well as the LLM legal practice, you may come across other master's courses which are SQE assessment preparation. And they might even be called SQE prep. Okay, so there's other versions that you can take, but the LLM legal practice is the standard one. Now, once you've taken that, you're going to sit your SQE1. You'll need to pass that. You can't actually book your SQE2 without passing that. Okay, so you do your SQE1, pass it, and then you'll do your SQE2. Now, you don't have to go straight into your SQE2 after passing the SQE1. If you wanted to do some qualifying work experience first, then you could do. But you can go straight into the SQE2 if you want to. By doing some qualifying work experience before taking your SQE2, you might find that you actually do better in the SQE2 assessment because that experience will have helped prepare you for it. Okay, now I'm getting on to the qualifying work experience. That needs to be a minimum of 2 years, and it replaces the former training contract. Now, the reason that this change has come into place is to open up opportunities, open up the competition for more people to have a chance to become a lawyer. When we had the training contracts, there were only a set number of those, and so you had a lot of people applying for few opportunities. Well, now it's opened it up a bit more. So this change, which is recent, by the way, is a positive thing. Okay, so it replaces the former training contract. It can be completed in up to 4 different firms. So that can be 6-month stints in 4 different firms, or you can do it all in 1 2-year chunk if you like. You could classify things like paralegal work or other placements as qualifying work experience, but for it to be qualifying, it must be signed off by a solicitor. Okay, so you can't just say, oh, well, when I was at university, I did 6 weeks for this firm, and here it is on my CV. It has to be signed off by a solicitor for it to be classed as qualifying work experience. And then you will apply to the SRA, which is the Solicitor's Regulation Authority, to be admitted as a solicitor. And that will involve an assessment of your character for suitability. Okay, so they may look into your history. If you've got any crimes or anything like that, that might come up. Okay, so keep a clean record, and that's basically what you need to do. So it's 3 years LLB, 1 year SQE preparation, which is generally the LLM in legal practice. Then you've got to sit your SQE1, pass it, then do your SQE2, and you need a total of 2 years qualifying work experience before you can apply to the SRA to be admitted. And that's the process. Now, if we look at that compared to becoming a barrister, the first thing that we notice is that it's a shorter duration. It's 5 years. Now, the barrister, because it's dealing with more high court cases, is often seen as the more glamorous option. And then you look at it and think, well, it's only 5 years as well. That's great. I'll be a barrister. The problem is that there are few opportunities to become a barrister in the UK. It's much harder because you need a pupillage. Okay, and I'll go through that now. So you start with the 3 years bachelor's degree again, except instead of looking for work placements whilst you're studying, you look for a mini pupillage. Okay, so that gives you a bit more experience and preparation as to what the full pupillage might be like. And it could also, hopefully, increase your chances of being accepted for the pupillage on the basis that if you go and do the mini pupillage somewhere, and you make a good impression, you do well in it, then they may have you back for the pupillage. Okay, just like I suppose when students go and do work experience for a company whilst they're a student, and then they apply for a job after it. Once they've graduated, if they've made a good impression, then their chances of getting the job are increased. So you need to research pupillage opportunities in year 2. Okay, and you need to be applying for them in year 3, hopefully when you've already got some mini pupillage experience. And again, you need to achieve a minimum of a 2-1 or a 3 out of 4 for Middle Eastern curriculums. So after that, you've got 1 year of doing the BPC, or Alternative Qualifying Bar course. So this is a qualifying degree again, okay? Not like the LLM in legal practice. So this replaces what was the BPTC. If you've heard the term BPTC, that's not going to be used anymore. It's more likely that you'll apply for a BPC, okay, which again is a qualifying postgraduate course. Now, after you've completed that, you'll need to go on to your pupillage, Okay, and as I've mentioned, it can be quite difficult to secure a pupillage. You can find out how many spaces are available in the UK for pupillages in that year, but you'll have to Google it. It will change each year. It's not always the same. It can go up or down. Okay, the pupillage itself is similar to an apprenticeship, similar to learning on the job, and it's split into two sections. The first 6 months you will be shadowing a barrister, and then for the second 6 months you'll be giving your own responsibilities. You'll be taking on your own work, having learned from watching. Okay, now once you've completed that year, you'll be invited to become a member of chambers, and for that you'll need to find yourself a tenancy, which is a permanent base from which you can operate as a self-employed barrister. That's the difference between the two career paths. So, what are important things to consider? Okay, let's have a look. Check that your university choices have a law-specific careers and development program. That's really important because we know that to become either, you're going to get a work placement or a mini pupillage, and to get either of those, your chances are increased if your law department has great connections with industry. Okay, and as long as it's got support available within the department to help you seek those positions. Ask about links with industry, employer events, and appointments to your university choices. Okay, so what we mean by employer events is that often universities can invite employers onto campus for an employer fair, and they may do a law specific one. So you'll get to meet people working in law firms and network with them, swap details and contact them when you're looking for these placement opportunities. Okay. Check if there is a university managed legal advice clinic providing you with guaranteed work experience. So whilst you might not be able to get guaranteed experience with external firms, if your university operates a free legal advice clinic, which is open to the public to use, then you're pretty much guaranteed that, if you work hard and you apply to help in that you'll get a place. And York does have one of those. And the reason that we have them is because legal advice is expensive, and not everybody in the UK can afford it. So by opening this up for free to the public, people can come and seek legal advice by people training to work in law, and that benefits you as a student as well because you get some actual practice working on real cases. And then you can also ask for a brochure on their careers and development strategy as well. So York has one. I'm afraid this one might link to one that's a little bit older. It does, but this is the kind of thing that it looks like. So you'll see what type of events are being held throughout the year that will benefit your career. You can learn about the mentoring schemes, the link days, putting you in touch with employers, that type of thing. So have a look at this information to get an idea of how well connected your department is and how much it does to support you in finding placements and jobs. I'm going to go back to the presentation now. So, Chris Wilkinson is the full-time employability tutor in the York Law School. So this is the person that will give you advice on getting placements, on writing your CV, on practicing for interviews and assessments, career planning, all of those things. You've got someone within the law department specifically helping law students to do that. Okay, not all universities will have that. Some of them will just have a careers and placements department, which is general but not law focused. So that's one of the benefits of York. Also, this person is responsible for the design of the program, including links and mentors, and students receive individual guidance from this person. So it's one-to-one sessions that you can book with Chris Wilkinson to get advice on careers. All right. So make sure that the university that you're applying for has their equivalent of Chris Wilkinson, the employability tutor, specifically for the law department. Now we're going to look a bit at the teaching and assessment methods because that's something else to consider when you're choosing a university. It's quite common for law to be taught in a way that you'd get lecture after lecture, which is information being projected at you that you have to take in. And then towards the end of the year or the end of the term, you then sit a number of exams. And so it's a case of revising and revising and revising the things that you've been taught and then spitting the answers that you've been given back out onto the exam paper. That is not the way that we teach at York for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's not really representative of how you would work within a law firm. And we think that's quite important to be teaching you the way that you're going to work. The other thing is that not everybody performs well in exams. Some people learn better through doing. Some people, and that might be, you know, you could draw an analogy to doing an apprenticeship rather than studying academics. But of course, this is very academic, except it's hands-on. You'll grapple with issues. You'll be put into a pretend law firm. You'll be given cases to go away and work on, and then you'll have to present your solutions. Okay, so we're not giving you all the answers, but we're giving you the problem-solving skills to go and work as a team to find the answers for yourself. And that's going to make you much more independent and resilient once you start your career. For that reason, we do have a great reputation at York for producing work-ready students. Okay, so that's something to think about. And it does say on the course page, the teaching and assessment methods, and most universities will include that. So you can actually see how much of the course is assessed by exams and how much is by practical work. And I've got a short video to show you here, just a bit more about problem-based learning. This will explain it a bit better than I can. Hopefully the sound works, but just let me know if it doesn't.
It's working fine, Sam.
Thank you.
Problem-based learning is a very distinctive learning resource at York Law School. A group of students will come together and will be given a problem, and they have to take that problem apart, analyze it, and arrive at a set of learning outcomes which will help them learn about the area of law which is introduced by that scenario. The key part of PBL is working as a team to take apart a problem and arrive at ways of researching the underlying law. The first stage of PBL is to identify any unclear terms and to collate the key information within the problem. The first part of that is to read the problem as a group. Then the group need to gather the key information. So what they will do is they will try to identify the key parties within the problem and then say what the drivers of each of those key parties are. They will then identify the key facts within the problem and will determine the chronology of the happening of those key facts. Stage 2 is to define the problem. The first part of that is to arrive at a summary, turn the problem into about 2 sentences of summary. The next thing they will do is they will come to put a name to the problem. The third stage of PBL is the free brainstorm, where the individuals within the group will contribute their ideas that will be captured by the scribe and put up onto the smartboard. The fourth stage of PBL is to arrange those ideas that have been put into the brainstorm. So the way that they've put up there may not necessarily be well structured, and they will, as a group, work to put some structure to the information they've put onto the smartboard. Stage 5 of PBL is to define the learning outcomes. Looking at the brainstorm that they have put together, we'll look around it and determine from that what learning outcomes they believe they need to come to be able to answer the problems that arise out of the scenario. Stage 6 of PBL is that the group will go away and individually research, using the university resources, those learning outcomes to find answers to those problems. The final stage, stage 7, is that the group will reconvene, usually 1 week later, and will share with each other the results of their self-directed study, researching the learning outcomes that they've arrived at.
Excellent. So hopefully that gives you a good idea of how well structured and how methodical the problem-based learning is at York. And we teach it fully through problem-based learning. We are the only UK university to do that, and the first. Other universities have borrowed elements of it and added it to their course, but none as much as York. So if you think that you do well in that type of learning environment, excellent. There is a self-assessment form that we ask you to complete upon applying for York to make sure that's the right type of learning for you, but I'll go into that now. So let's look at the entry requirements. Okay, so to apply for law at York, we're generally looking at 3 A's, A levels, or 36 points in IBs, or 554 in APs. Okay, what we don't ask for at York is specific subjects for law. Things that would prepare you well might include, things like business or history or politics, those types of things, but we're not going to specifically ask for them. So it doesn't matter what subjects you've taken in your final year. We're also going to need an IELTS 6.5, no less than 6 in each component, but we are also accepting the online equivalents, Duolingo, IELTS Indicator, the IBT, TOEFL IBT. There's plenty that we accept, even language cert as well, and it will tell you all of them on the course page of the website, plus the required scores. If you don't get the required score, don't worry. We offer pre-sessional English language courses to top you up to the required score, but we also offer them as either face-to-face teaching or online. So you can do either. It's up to you. There used to be an interview assessment to make sure that problem-based learning was the right kind of course for you. And just to give you an idea of what they'd involve in that, it wasn't necessarily about answering questions correctly, because as you can see, you don't need to have studied law. It was about how quick you are to think on your feet and how confident you are in delivering your answers. So an example of one of the questions would be, if law were a sport, which sport would it be and why? So try and have a little think of one if you can. Maybe you want to throw it back at me when we're doing the question and answer session. That's up to you. But also, instead of doing that now, we've changed that so you don't have to do the interview method. We've made that a bit easier. There's a self-assessment form that you can complete. And basically, it's just helping you to identify for yourself whether this is the right way that you want to learn. Okay. The York Law School is currently ranked 15th in the UK according to the Complete University Guide 2022. Have a look through various other ranking systems if you want to, but that's just to give you an idea. Anything top 20 is excellent. To find the LLB, all you do is go to the homepage of the website. I'll quickly show you. So if you go to the homepage of the website, this is the course search function. Select undergraduate because it's a bachelor's degree and just type LLB. It's the top result here. As you can see, there's other types of LLBs that you can do that are qualifying law degrees, but this is the standard one, LLB Law. And then you can look at the course content, which will show you the modules that you'll have to study. Okay. You can also look at the fees and funding. So as you can see, it's £19,600 per academic year at York. You can look at the careers that people go into from this, and you can have another look at the entry requirements. Finally, because I've just been speaking about it, if you look at the teaching and assessment, it will tell you about PBL, problem-based learning, and you can watch a video and find out more from this page. Okay. So that brings me to the end of the presentation. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I hope you've found it informative. I'm going to take questions now. Just to reiterate, though, I'm not a specialist in law, so I'll do my best to answer those questions. And if I can't answer them, I'm sorry, but you can always direct them to our law department, who will be more than happy to hear from you. Okay, so I'll start taking the questions now, Ella, if that's okay.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sam. That was really helpful. All right, there are a few questions from me included, so I'll just pop them in this stage for you to answer them.
Okay. What happens if a student gets below a 2-1? I presume you mean if you're looking to become a solicitor or a barrister and you've got a 2-2, which is the one below a 2-1. It may just make it more difficult for you to secure your placements to do your qualifying work experience. If the competition is higher, and they've got better scores and they've got as much experience as you, well, then they're going to take the best applicants forward. And the same for securing a pupillage, which is even harder. So yeah, that's what it will happen. It won't strike you off a list saying, no, this student is not possible anymore. It just means that you won't be as competitive as the competition. And that's the issue.
So what are their options? Like maybe get more work experience, do you think?
Well, you can still go for it. You can still apply for those work placements and those pupillages. Just be prepared that you might not get them. Your chances of getting them are not as high. And in that case, you might want to consider going down a different route, maybe as a legal advisor or a paralegal or one of the other options that I described to you.
All right. And if, for example, a student, decides to do paralegal, at the end, he can still do the qualifying bar exam or whatever to be a solicitor or a barrister, right?
Well, there are actually time restrictions by which you need to complete those hurdles.
Okay.
So if you do the LLB and then you do the BPC after that, there's a certain amount of time really that you need to secure a pupillage before the information that you've learned is no longer relevant because the law changes. So you'd have to ask the academic department about how long that time frame is, but the longer you leave it, the less your chances are. And that's why it was important to secure the mini pupillage to get that experience and then be applying for your pupillage by the end of year 2 of your bachelor's degree.
Okay, and that leads us to the next question.
Yeah, so that the pupillage is the 1 year of hands-on experience, 6 months shadowing a barrister, 6 months doing the job for yourself under supervision of the barrister, so like an apprenticeship. The pupillage is basically what you'll be expected to be doing as a barrister, but an apprentice version.
All right. Do we need the ELNAT?
No, I'm pleased to say that to apply to the University of York, you don't need the ELNAT, although for your other choices, your London-based universities mainly, I believe, you may need an ELNAT. So have a look through all of your 5 shortlisted choices and check whether any of them needs it, because you might still have to take it.
I think you answered a bit, but can you tell me if it's 10% presentation, 10% group work, an
Yeah, I don't think that. Do you mean the self-assessment for the problem-based learning, or do you mean the actual course?
The mod, each subject assessment.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So it's going to be a mixture of group projects, basically individual presentations, group presentations, coursework submissions, that type of thing. But as I've mentioned, if you go onto the course page of the website and you click on the course content section, what you can do is click on each individual module and it will tell you how that module will be assessed. So it might say 80% coursework, 20% exam. I'm going to bring an example up for you. Okay, so yeah. I'm looking at year 1 of the course, and in year 1 of the course, one of the modules is Foundations in Law 1. So if I click on Foundations in Law 1, I can see that actually there is an essay involved. It's 100% of the mark. So it's a 1,500 word essay. That's that module being marked. So no exams for that module.
All right. Okay. Fair enough. When is the deadline of submitting our personal statements?
Right. So there's different deadlines according to UCAS. So you've got your first deadline, which is your equal consideration deadline. Now, if you Google UCAS deadlines, what you should see is that the first deadline will be in January, and it's usually around the 26th. It might change each year, but all of our undergraduate applications have to come through UCAS. If you don't know what UCAS is yet, it's an application management system, and it allows you to write one application, which will be distributed to your 5 university choices. They can then respond to those applications and it will all come back to you in the same place. So it's a really good thing. It makes it nice and easy to manage your applications, and they set the deadlines. So go onto UCAS, check that first deadline, which should be in January. That's for, I can see that I think it is 26th of January. That's for equal consideration. Any applications received before that date will be treated equal to each other. Any that are received after it don't have to be.
Okay, but they can still apply after that, right?
They can still, and yeah, and a lot of international students do apply after that. So don't worry if you miss the 26th of January deadline, but if you're wanting a scholarship from the University of York, and if you want to know whether you're definitely able to get a scholarship from York before your firm acceptance deadline, which is when you've got to pick your top choice, and if you get an offer from that top choice, then you go to them. That happens in June. So here's what would happen. You would apply for the course before the January deadline, hopefully. Get your offer then fairly quickly, within a few weeks. Once you've got an offer from us, and that can be a conditional offer because we're waiting for your final grades to come in, you don't need them to apply. Then you can submit a scholarship application, and you could get up to £20,000, which is an entire year free of tuition fees. Although we do split it 10,000 in the first year, 5 in the second, 5 in the third. Okay, but you can only apply for that if you've got an offer by the application window, which opens in January and closes at the end of March. And that's why it's beneficial to apply as early as possible.
And what are the scholarship requirements? Like, is there any specific requirements for it?
So first of all, as soon as you submit a scholarship application form, you'll get an automatic score based on the grades that you've applied with. You've then got an opportunity to keep adding to that score in the answers on the application form, which is an online form that you complete yourself. It's around about 3 or 4 personal statement style questions, things like, tell us specifically why you chose to study at the University of York. It'll be things like, tell us about any awards or achievements that you've enjoyed in the past and how they make you a scholarship worthy student, that type of thing. Now, when it comes to applying for your scholarship, if you want some help from me, I am more than happy to help you. All you have to do is speak to Education Zone once you've got your offer and say, can you put me in touch with Sam at York? And then we can make an appointment. And obviously, I can't give you the answers, but what I can do is go through the questions with you, identify exactly what it is we're looking for, and have a conversation with you to try and identify some key points about yourself that you might like to include, which would increase your chances.
That's perfect. Are they limited scholarships, or it's very, yeah, everyone can apply for it?
Yeah, so usually each year what will happen is a university's international office, which is what I'm part of, will get given a budget. The university will give us so much money and say, this is for scholarships to give to international students. And the university's international office then decides how to distribute it. Now, a lot of universities may give you automatic scholarships. And it sounds great because you don't have to apply for it like you do ours, but often these are very small, £1,000 or £2,000. And when you add up £20,000 a year tuition fees, £60,000 just in tuition fees, £1,000 or £2,000 does not scratch the surface. And that's why we make them competitive of larger amounts. And we've got about 100 awards that we give away in total each year.
Amazing. All right, that's answered. Next one. She means the IELTS UKVI.
Right, okay. Is the popular IELTS fine to do, or students need to do? UKVI would meet the requirements if you need to study a pre-sessional course. So it's a good idea to do the UKVI, because if you don't quite get the score that we require, which might be a 6.5, let's say you get 5.5, then you would have to study a pre-sessional English language course. We've made these available online, so it does make this a bit easier, but if you wanted to come and do that in person, you could only do it if your IELTS is UKVI. So it's up to you, but it just opens up more opportunities by doing the UKVI version.
Yeah, Wasal, basically the IELTS is for the normal IELTS academic is for year 1 entry. The IELTS UKVI is for foundation entry, pre-sessional English courses, and pre-masters as well.
That was a better way of putting it, Anna. Thank you.
No worries. A question from me: what is the online assessment, self-assessment, and when it's usually done? Like at the time of the application, or is there a deadline, or how is it exactly done?
I believe it's done once you've got your conditional offer. So it's not available yet online. But if you were thinking of applying to York and you wanted to see that self-assessment form before you applied, and made as one of your choices, all you would need to do is go to the course page, scroll down towards the bottom, and there's a dark blue banner and it says next steps, and it's got the contact details for our law department. You're not bothering them, it's not a problem, they would love to hear from you. So if you want to know more about that self-assessment form, just contact them directly. They might even send you one.
Perfect. We have last question from Sheikha. Is IB required for studying law at the University of York?
It is one of the acceptable curriculums. It's a very strong curriculum. It will put you in a good position if you're applying for a scholarship and you've got good IB scores. But it's just one of the acceptable curriculums. So IB is fine as long as you do the full IB diploma with at least 3 high-level subjects, ideally. But also APs are fine and A-levels are fine as well.
So yeah, Sheikha, if you're not doing IB or A levels, then you will be qualified for the foundation year. You do the foundation year and you can absolutely go to York University after you finish the foundation. So if you're not doing IB, a foundation will be perfect for you. Okay, Sam, that was really helpful. Thank you so much for your time, and we hope to see students applying to York Law.
Lovely. Thank you very much. And if any of you watching want to come and see me at the stand, I'll be on a table. You can do it as a one-to-one or we can speak as a group. Okay. Thank you very much.
There's a final question. Do you want to answer it? Is that fine?
Sure, go for it. Yeah.
If I don't get 36 points at IB, can I do the foundation year?
Yeah, I mean, we may even still make you an offer, to be honest. It depends how far below that required score you do get. So if you get 35 points, we may make you a near miss offer. We may even make you an offer if you get 34. But it depends on the competition, how many people have applied with those higher scores. Remember, there are a limited number of seats on any law course. We usually fill ours up. We don't often enter clearing. So aim for that 36 to be as competitive as you can be. If you get 35 or 34, we may still be able to offer you a place.
Are there any specific IB grade IB subjects, Sam, you're looking for?
No,
No.
we're not asking for any specific subjects for law, which really opens it up, I think.
So only 36 points overall.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much, Sam.
You're welcome. Speak soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I'll go back to the table now. Yeah,
Yes,
Allah.
yes, yes.
Thank you.